maybe I can speak again from the public school, which is, in my case, also in a, not French but Belgian context. And maybe also, first of all, the main audience for art is made up of artists and curators and people who are involved, and then art amateur, and then a larger audience. But the access to the activities is not obvious. So I think we are not going to remake the question of the audience. But talking about my experience is that my organization is very small, and all the communication of the public school pass by our website. And we have people that we don't know who apply for classes and workshops and participate to activities. Let's call it activities. It's maybe activity is a new or hobby, and there are people who attend, and we don't know them, and we don't know where they come from. You know, there is like, and they attend, but they also propose activities, like they want to teach. There is a writer who came to teach quantum physics. And we really thought he was a real physician, but at the end we realized he was a fake, but he was really good. And he was such a good performer. We were like, wow, he made such a great thing with the screening, and then he wrote on the wall, and it looked like contemporary art. But in fact, well, he was a writer, but yeah, a bit of a performer, and he really learned everything about the subject, and it was so great. And then another time you have people who want to make guerrilla gardening in the city, and they gather and they go and they do that. So is it art, is it not art? You don't know. And there is an artist we didn't know. I think she is in a show in Amsterdam now, Bitsy Knox. And she proposed to make a class that was called how to speak Franglais, how to speak English, how to make effect in English if you know only some words and you're in certain situation like this and you have to manage. And so she teaches us, you know, how to manage this kind of situation. And so, and you have people, you know, people go on internet and they find, you know, by Google stuff, and you can have a new audience. It's possible. Like yesterday, I was giving a class in art school in La Cambre. And the title of the workshop is called Gang Forest, and it's to make an exhibition later, a project, and it's like one part of it. And there is somebody of a place which is called Forest, which it's a neighborhood in Brussels who emailed us on the website and said, okay, I live in Forest, if there is a gang in Forest, I want to come. And it's great, you know, and it was also about mobility in Europe and about, you know, non-places. And there is another person from that same neighborhood who told us, oh, okay, I want to attend because I live between Paris and Forest, and for me it's something so strange, and I want to go to your workshop. So it's myself, I didn't believe. It's always like you said, the same question, the same people going around. You know, it's a kind of business and all that. But sometimes you have like small utopia, like small things that can happen. You're not going to move 500 people to go to your thing, maybe people who don't care. But sometimes there are new people, new audience. And there is also an artist here, Francisco Camacho, who lives in Amsterdam, and he's also in the public school project, and he's making a video in which he makes a research between the Flemish primitive painters. So he asked to some art historian, local art historian, to speak about the subject, and he puts that in relation with the Vlaams-Belang, which is the extreme right party in Flanders, in Belgium, and he talks about the propaganda and all that, and so it connects always people, and I think art in general connects people. If we always want to be positive, we see that if you work on producing a video and things like that, you always connect people. So it goes always beyond the small circle, but it's also a bit of a sickness sometimes. It's too small, but that's the way it is. But I think education, maybe it's a good one. I mean, I listened to, I felt better after tonight. But also because, yeah, I think the book
you share that sentiment.
Well, no sentiment, I feel better. But the book is good because they defend it, but they criticize it as well. So it's, I mean, I'm not trying to, how much is the price?
Ready to make it fall.
20 euro?
Having said this,
18. 20.
Having said this, I'd like to pass the word to Ann Demeester of the Appel, and after that I'll tell you a few house rules, but first, please, Ann, to conclude.
Now I feel really embarrassed, like Sonia just did the best PR, you just have to buy the book. And, I actually came up to do an institutional afterthought, but I think I will not do that, because I felt that there were many more questions in the audience that we could have continued to address, like yours in relation to new media, where I thought, well, maybe the big difference is also that within new media practice, these models, these open source models are taken for granted as a kind of model of knowledge exchange, while in, let's say, the contemporary art world, as it's very obvious from the book, they're also seen as signs of resistance or as patterns of disruption of maybe other fossilized methodologies. I think that the only thing that I'm left to say at this moment is that the Appel is very proud to have made this book co-possible with open editions and an enormous amount of other partners that are extensively thanked in the program that I will not name now. And I just wanted to briefly, although this really feels like an afterthought now, explain why we decided to co-publish the book. Not only because we do think that Mick Wilson and Paul ONeill are kind of the Dan Browns of curatorial studies. When they publish a book, it becomes a box office hit, even if it's hardcore theory. But that was not our motivation. One of the motivations is not this Dan Brown argument, but it's the fact that we deeply respect the type of research that Paul and Mick are doing, and that it actually does something that the Appel is not doing. We are a contemporary art center that focuses on exhibitions and display, on showing art and performance, on maybe the visual less than the cerebral and the intellectual. But we also have a curatorial program that used to be conceived of as really an educational program that trains people, and that now we very much more see as an expertise enhancement program, in which sort of this notion of auto-education and learning from each other is much more central than learning from maybe a tutorial team. But this always remains a kind of internal, behind the screens, exclusive kind of activity for 6 to 12 people per year. And we wanted to maybe extrapolate the knowledge that is being produced or not produced within that framework to a larger audience. So that's why we first committed to working with Paul ONeill in 2006 on curating subjects, and that's why we also thought that it was important that not only a publisher makes this book possible, but maybe also an art institution that has education in the back of its mind continuously and doesn't necessarily do something with it on a public level. This sounds too much as self-promotion, so I'll just close it off and incite you, like Sonia did, to please buy the book. Not for our sake, it will sell out anyhow, you don't have to buy a copy. But just for your own personal good. And to thank also Wouter Davidts from the VU for hosting this event, because we thought it would be much more interesting to have it take place within a formalized institutional educational context and to have it in our exhibition spaces. And as you know, Wouter also contributed to the book in an interview with Daniel Gurin. This was a very, very sloppy outro. I want to thank all the speakers on the panel. I want to thank Edna van Duin and Marina Frankel also for organizing this evening. And I'll pass on the mic to Paul ONeill to formally close it off.
Well, I just want to thank all the speakers, and I want to thank Anne and Edna and everybody at the Appel. I want to thank Mick, I want to thank all the authors, and David Blamey, who's not here, who's off in India, Sonia himself, who is the co-publisher with Open Editions. I want to thank Fletcher and the Free University of Amsterdam. I want to thank Bradcan, the Graduate School of Creative Arts in Dublin. I want to thank International Curators Forum, who've contributed to the publication, but also have invited 2 curatorial fellows here today, and all the rest of the wonderful people are thanked in the back of the book. And I want to thank you all for coming. And, thanks.